What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. In this video I'm going to show you guys some real-world examples of structures that you can use as a fallout shelter. So I drove down here to the nearest city where I live. I drove downtown and I'm in the concrete jungle. I'm out of the sticks and in the concrete jungle for you guys to make this video to show you what kind of structures you can use to protect yourself from fallout radiation. And if you haven't seen my How to Survive Nuclear War series, I recommend you watch that. I talk about suitable structures for protecting yourself from fallout radiation. So I'm gonna walk around downtown over here and show you guys some structures that are good and show you guys some structures that are bad, and I'm going to explain to you why they're good and why they're bad. So I hope you enjoy this video and let me know what you think in the comments. So let's see what we can find here. And another thing too, guys, if you're going to do this type of recon at night, make sure you have protection on you. Here I have my 44 Magnum. Okay, so you're scouting out these types of structures at night. You may run into some weird people. All right, guys, so here's our first structure. I talked about this in my videos. Here we have a multi-floor parking garage, and this is just a classic parking garage that you could find in any city, whether it's a small city like this one or even a large city. You'll find parking garages like this. It's very easy to find. So this could be a decent fallout shelter location. There's a couple of bad things. First of all, you don't have walls completely around it. You have open areas there between the different floors, the different levels. Okay, so that's gonna let radiation in, but you also have several levels. You have here on this one 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 levels. Okay, so if you put yourself on the 3rd or 4th level, that would be the best place to be, because you'll be halfway between the ground and the top floor. The top floor is where you're going to have fallout. Okay, when the fallout lands, you're going to have some fallout on the top level, so you're going to get some radiation coming in through the ceiling of the top floor. But the good thing is that the levels or the floors are made of concrete, so that's going to block a lot of the radiation coming through the top level down through the levels below, like the 5th, 4th, and 3rd level here. But what you would want to do is go to the 3rd or 4th level and try to get into the middle of the parking garage, as far away from these openings as possible. Okay, so you want to get into the center and the middle floors. So this could be a decent fallout shelter. Not the best, but it's better than nothing. Okay, so this is not the best, it's decent. I want to just show you guys up close some other things about parking garages to look out for that can actually be very helpful. You see here you have these stairwells. Every parking garage has a stairwell. Here we have one stairwell that goes all the way up, and then here we have an elevator. This is actually where the elevator goes up, behind this brick here. Okay, and this brick is just the outside. It's just the, for looks. It's not made of brick, it's made of reinforced concrete. So these bricks are just to make it look nice. But here we have an elevator. Okay, so you have the elevator shaft over here, and the elevator shaft goes all the way up. All right, if you can access the elevator shaft somehow, if the power is working still, you could go into the elevator shaft, and if you could get to like the 3rd or 4th floor, that would be really good, because you're going to be surrounded by reinforced concrete in that elevator shaft. So, and you're going to be you know, up, let's say 3rd or 4th floor, so you're going to be far away from the radiation that's going to be coming from the ground, because the fallout is going to be landing on the ground. So that's one thing to consider, is getting into the elevator shaft. Also, if you have a stairwell like this one here, you have a stairwell in there. I don't know if you guys can see the stairwell right there. A lot of stairwells on parking garages are fully enclosed. They don't have windows like this. Okay, but even though there's a window here, there's windows on every level in this stairwell. You could put some shielding material on that window, okay, and they actually have windows on this side too, which is not the best, but still, you know, you have the stairwell here, and the stairwell is surrounded by reinforced concrete, and then you have that brick on the outside. So you're going to get really good shielding from that. You just need to deal with the windows. But a lot of parking garages don't have any windows. So if you can find a stairwell that doesn't have any windows like this, that's perfect, because you're going to have several inches of reinforced concrete all around you, which is going to reduce the radiation by probably at least 90%, maybe more, 95 or even 99%. So that's something to look out for when you're looking for a parking garage. If you can find one with a stairwell that's completely enclosed with no windows, or if you can get into the elevator shaft, that's another option for you. And if you can't do that, then going into the actual parking garage is fine. But like on this one, you see you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 levels. I just wanted to count again. So you want to get into the 3rd level here. Okay, that's the 3rd level up there. And you want to get into the middle, so you're equal distance from these openings here, okay? And because you have several layers of concrete underneath you and on top of you, from each level you have several inches of concrete for each level. That's going to protect you, okay? So parking garage is pretty decent shelter location, not the best, but it's decent. So let's find another one here. All right guys, so here's an example of a parking garage you don't want to use. You can see it's pretty small. You don't get much distance from the outside, and it's just very small, and there's lots of openings. You see there's an opening there. It's not enclosed. There could possibly be a stairwell in there that you could use. If it's surrounded by concrete, that would be worth checking out. But other than that, this is not really a good option. It's too open. Okay, as you see here, it's open up here. So this is not a good parking garage. All right, it's not big enough, not enough square footage. All right, you want a big full-size parking garage. And again, look for those enclosed stairwells or elevator shafts, okay? That's what you want, but this is not good. All right guys, here we have another good fallout shelter location. Here we have a stone church. This is excellent, and what makes this stone church really good is you don't have a lot of big windows, okay? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 windows, but they're very small. These windows are small, and you can see just this massive stone tower. If you could get into that tower somehow, that would be really good, because there's really no openings or any kind of windows or anything that would let radiation in. You're completely surrounded by stone. So if you can find yourself a church like this, an old church or even a newer church that's made of stone, you can see the stone blocks. And again, you have some windows there, but those windows are not really huge, you know, so you can deal with that. You can put some shielding, you can stack up some sandbags, you can do something, okay? But this is a great option, something like this. All right, so here's another look at that church, guys. You can see this big stone tower. If you could get in that tower somehow, that would be ideal. But even if you can't, if you have to actually go inside of the church itself, this is a good one because it doesn't have a lot of windows. Here you have like the rectory, but you know, you could even go in the rectory too. It's made of stone as well, but it has a lot of windows. but this is just a perfect example, and it's actually right across the street from the parking garage. So see how easy it is, guys? You just need to spend some time, you know. Got to get off the couch, got to put the device down, get out and walk and look. It's very easy to find these types of structures. So also want to show you something cool here. A lot of churches have basements. Okay, here we have a basement. All right, look at that, guys. Got solid concrete here. Got a metal door, which is good too. That metal door will actually block some radiation. It's pretty decent shielding. Okay, so you know, a lot of churches have basements, but look at the construction here. You got stone. This is excellent. This stone is probably 6 inches thick or even more. And then you got that basement there. So excellent fallout shelter here. Stone church. And this church is so big it has multiple entrances to the basement. All right, look at that. Another entrance. So you need to scout these things out now, guys. Okay, if you're going to use a church like this for a fallout shelter, you need to think about how are you going to get in. All right, you got windows here. You could possibly break the windows and climb in. If not, if you want to get down there directly, you may have to have bolt cutters. You may even need a cutoff saw. It might not be a bad idea to purchase a cutoff saw, because with the cutoff saw you could just literally cut through the door. If the bolt cutters are not strong enough, you can just literally cut through. So something to think about though. Bolt cutters, pry bar, cutoff saw. How are you going to get in? Okay, it's good if you find the shelter, but how are you going to get in? Alright guys, so here's something that pretty much every city or larger town has, and that's apartment blocks. Alright, here we have a very large apartment block. It's multi-floor. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 levels. Okay, that's a lot of protection. Each one of those levels is going to give you protection. You got reinforced concrete above you and below you on each floor. And the walls, as you can see, the walls are solid. You got that brick facing, but you got reinforced concrete. This structure is made of concrete, but you just have brick on the outside, that tan brick. But what I like about this one is you don't really have a lot of windows or a lot of openings, so that's really good. It's going to minimize areas for radiation to get in. This looks like a stairwell. Those little windows are probably for a stairwell, so that stairwell could be an option. You would have to pick probably the 3rd or 4th stairwell and get into the corner away from that window, and then maybe put something over that window to shield it up. But this is a great option. I mean, look at the square footage. This is a huge block here, you know, 7 floors, and it's a big one. It goes all the way around. This is a great option, okay? And I can almost bet you that there's a basement inside of this apartment. So I'm actually gonna do a quick recon and walk around the perimeter, see if I can't see any signs of a basement. But look at this, guys. This is the 3rd shelter I found inside of 30 minutes, you know. It doesn't take a lot of time. You just have to get out there and do it. So let's see if we can find a basement, but this is an excellent location, either inside of the stairwell, elevator shaft, or the middle floors in the centermost part of the building will give you very high protection factor, probably at least a protection factor of 20 or more. So let's go see if we could find a basement. Alright guys, no signs of a basement on this side, but as you can see, it's just solid wall here on this side. You have these little windows, but these windows are small. They're not big windows. So you have a lot of protection here, a lot of concrete. You got that brick facing. Alright guys, sure enough, I found the entrance to the basement. Looks like we have a little receiving area here, probably for, you know, the kitchen or whatever. But here we have an entrance to the basement, guys. Alright, so excellent location here. That basement would be excellent. You'll probably get a protection factor of over 100, probably 1,000. There's no windows, you know, at all. Okay, you can see there's no windows, no basement windows. It's just solid. So this is an excellent location. Okay, great location. If you can get into this basement, that's better than going to the 3rd or 4th floor. Excellent location here, guys. Okay, this is what you want to find, something like this, and I can guarantee you that you can find this in your city or town. Okay, you just have to get out and look. All right, but this would be an excellent option. I'm sure the basement goes the whole way underneath this whole building, and this is a big building, so plenty of room in there. Even if other people find their way in, there'll be plenty of room to share. And you know, you do have a door here, so you could always barricade yourself in. And you know, if you have a group of people, you could prevent any kind of bad guys from getting in. You could, you know, post security up, but there's really no other entrance to this, you know, to this basement other than by this door here. Let me just show you guys. I'll hit it with the light. Okay, just got that door there. All right, so you know, you could barricade yourself in. Excellent option, guys. Excellent option. So as you can see, there's no windows or anything on the bottom. Okay, no windows. It's just solid concrete. So excellent option. Multi-floor reinforced concrete building. Excellent. As you see, no windows or anything. No openings here. Look, no openings. See that? Perfect. And here we have another apartment building. This one's huge. Look at all those levels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 levels. Okay, that's a bad luck number, but this would be decent. You have a lot of windows here, and you got these balconies, but it's big enough where you could find a central location away from the windows. But the problem with this one is the ground level, or the subterranean level, the basement. The problem is you have all these windows. You see that? All those windows, and I'm guessing there's apartments in there. So that wouldn't be good, because the radiation is going to get through those windows. So, you know, if you were to try to go into the basement of this apartment building, you would be a little bit limited by those windows there. Okay, so yeah, it does look like there's apartments in them. You could see the light behind those curtains there. Okay, so this one, decent, not as good as the other one, but still, this is a good option. You just have to get into the center of the building and the middle floors. Here's another apartment building. This one's shorter. Only 4 floors here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 ground level. But it's pretty big. As you can see, it spans a pretty good distance. A lot of square footage. So this could be a good option if you can get into the basement, or if you have to go into the apartment building because there is no basement, then you want to go to the 2nd or 3rd floor. And it's made of reinforced concrete, so shouldn't be a problem finding a good area in this apartment building. This is a decent option. Alright guys, so here we have an example of a structure you would not want to use. This one is not good. You see all the windows. This is that new open concept architecture that a lot of modern apartment buildings have. They have these big windows to let a lot of light in, and they look cool. Not just apartments, but offices too. They have these big windows. That's like the new style of architecture, and it's not a good option for fallout shelter, because obviously these windows are going to let a lot of radiation in. So if you see any kind of office building like this, or apartment building with a lot of these big windows like this, stay away. It's not a good option. Unfortunately, a lot of cities are starting to build these types of offices and apartments, you know, these open concept architectures, you know, so not a good option for a fallout shelter. All right, guys, so I'm at this Walmart here, and Walmarts are actually a good option. Not the best option, but decent. A lot of these types of department stores have this type of block construction. Okay, the exterior is made from these concrete blocks, so that's gonna block out some radiation, and you have a lot of square footage here. Okay, this is a big building, all right, thousands of square feet. So you can get into the center of your Walmart and you're going to be far away from the radiation that's going to be coming in through the walls. Now your biggest problem is going to be radiation coming in from the roof. When the fallout settles on the roof, you're going to have radiation coming in through the roof. So that'll be one possible way that radiation would get into this Walmart building here. But there's a lot of things you can do, because Walmarts have a lot of different products that they stock that you could use as shielding material. You know, a lot of Walmarts have garden centers built into them, so you can go to the garden center and grab, you know, blocks, you know, bags of topsoil, potting soil, you know, lumber, and just improvise a fallout shelter in the center part of the building. All right, you want to get to the centermost part of the Walmart, okay, and then you can go to your garden center in the Walmart and use some of the materials that they have there. It's not the best option because there's probably going to be security. It's possible that the local police may arrive and, you know, designate the Walmart as a fallout shelter, and, you know, they may block it off because desperate people may try to get in. So it's not the best location because it's not discreet. You know, you want to find discreet locations. Walmart is something that everybody knows about, so you're going to see a lot of people flocking to the Walmarts, probably looting them as well. You know, added benefit of a Walmart is that, you know, there's food and stuff inside, water, so you have provisions already set up for you. You don't have to worry about bringing anything in. You know, like with the apartment buildings or the church or the parking garage, you got to bring your own water and food. But in a Walmart, it's stocked with food and water. Now, granted, a lot of that food is going to spoil, but you're still going to have cans and cans and cans of food that you can eat, plus watered bottles. I mean, so, you know, Walmart is a great option. You just have to get into the centermost part of the building, or if you could find like a closet or some kind of enclosed area like that door over there, that could be some kind of you know, boiler room or something like that. You know, if you could find like a boiler room or some kind of mechanical room or like an enclosed closet or an office, that would be even better than just going into the, you know, main part of the store where you don't have any you know, shielding, you know, around you besides these walls out here. So that would be something to look for. Look for some kind of a boiler room, some kind of back room, some kind of office, you know, loss prevention office. You know, long time ago, I used to work in loss prevention, you know, which is, you know, basically you try to prevent people from stealing stuff, you know. And the place where I worked at a Macy's, actually. And my loss prevention office was like a little back room that was like a little bunker, and we actually had like a little detention room for where we could put people that we detain, you know, shoplifters. We actually had to use it like 2 or 3 times. You know, I detained someone and I put them back there. But, you know, if you could find like a loss prevention office, you know, usually those loss prevention offices are like bunkers. You know, or some kind of mechanical room, boiler room, storage closet, that would be your best bet. But if not, go to the center part of the Walmart, or it doesn't have to be a Walmart, it could be a Home Depot department store. A Home Depot is a great option too. It's just with the Home Depot, you're not going to have the food and water, but you're going to have plenty of shielding material, because you're going to have lumber, you're going to have sandbags, you're going to have concrete blocks. So you could go to a Home Depot, you could go to some kind of home improvement store, Tractor Supply, Rural King, something like that. But to me, Walmart is a great option. I think Rural King is a great option too, because they have like food at the Rural Kings and stuff. So but you know, a store like this, a big department store, box store, whatever you want to call it, is a pretty good option, you know. So as you guys see, I just found a bunch of suitable structures, and I've only been out for an hour. So if I can do it, you can do it. There's no excuse. Okay, so don't be lazy, you know, be proactive. So let's check out some other structures. All right guys, so here we have what you would call a classic strip mall. Okay, you have these stores here: GNC, Hallmark, GameStop, Dollar Tree. This is a classic strip mall, and this is not the best option. It's better than nothing, but it's not a good option, because you have all the glass windows and the radiation is going to get in through the glass. Now, a lot of strip malls will have like a back room or some kind of a back area for you know, receiving goods, you know, that you put on the shelf. So if you could get into one of those back rooms, that could be an option. A lot of strip malls do have concrete construction. As you can see, this strip mall, you can see those concrete pillars. So this one is built from concrete, and actually it's hard to see, but you can see the walls are made of concrete if you look there. So it is made of concrete, so that's a big plus. But you don't want to be near those windows. Okay, you want to try to find a back room like this GNC here. I actually worked at GNC when I was younger, when I was like, you know, in my early 20s, and I was competing in powerlifting. I worked at a GNC, and I thought it would be a great way to make money and get discounts on supplements. But you know, like GNCs or other types of retail stores that are in strip malls, GameStop, they always have a back room in the back of the store for the manager and for receiving. Okay, the trucks pull in on the back side. All right, so on the back here, on the back of this area, the other side, you have the receiving area where the trucks come in. Okay, and then you have a big back room there. It's pretty good sized rooms in those strip malls in the back. You know, they have enough room to fit a bunch of, you know, goods that are going to go on the shelf. So if you can get into that back room, and you're probably going to have to put some shielding around the doors. Okay, you usually, I know when I worked at GNC, every GNC at a strip mall like this, I actually worked at a strip mall like this at a GNC, and the back room, you have the one door to get into the back room, and then you have another door to exit out the back. All right, and that's where the trucks pull in, and the workers, you know, the manager, store manager, they bring in the goods, you know. So you got two doors that you're gonna have to put shielding over. You know, you're gonna have to find some kind of shielding. You know, you could bring empty sandbags with you. I always recommend everybody have a good stockpile of sandbags. You know, it's a no-brainer. You can buy, you know, 100 sandbags for 50 bucks, empty sandbags. Get a couple bags of zip ties for 10 bucks each, and you know, just get a shovel and start filling those sandbags up, zip tie them off, and then stack up those sandbags against the doors to that back room. You can actually kind of see through the glass there on the right side of that GNC. You can see the door there. So you go into that door, you stack up your sandbags against the door, and then also on the door on the back side where the receiving area is, stack up sandbags there, and you should be in pretty good shape. You're probably going to get a good amount of radiation coming in from the roof, but you know, you're going to have a good reinforced roof up above you. It's not like a stick frame house where you just have sheets of plywood and fiberglass insulation. So you know, you'll have some shielding above you. So strip malls are decent, but not the best. All right guys, so I'm actually going to drive around the back of this strip mall just to show you guys what the back of a strip mall looks like. Okay, here you see you got these concrete blocks and you got these steel doors. Every one of these stores has their own door, okay? And these doors are pretty heavy duty, all right? As you can see, they're made of steel, so that's a good way to keep bad guys out. They're tough, so you can stack up heavy objects against them. So, you know, strip malls are a decent option. They're not the best, but, you know, if you can get into this back room here, you know, like I said, you may need some entry tools, all right? Bolt cutters, cut-off saw, you know, pry bars, whatever it takes to get in. You know, you got to do whatever it takes because it's a matter of life or death. But if you can get into one of these back rooms in a strip mall, it's a great option. You know, just gotta do something about these doors, you know, stack up sandbags against them, and you know, you won't even need that much, you wouldn't even need that many sandbags, you know, to cover up this door from the inside. You wouldn't even need that many. But so this is what a typical strip mall looks like in the back, you know, as you can see. All right, I'm just driving around the back here of this strip mall. All right, so great option, guys. Now another thing with the strip malls is that the back room of your strip mall could also be a great option for protecting yourself from marauders. You know, there's going to be a lot of desperate, hungry people after a nuclear war, you know, that are going to be scrambling to find shelter, scrambling to find food, water. So, you know, going into one of those back rooms of a strip mall, you can really barricade yourself in there with sandbags, and you got that steel door. So, you know, the best thing would be if you know someone who works in retail in one of those strip malls and, you know, they have a key. That would be the ideal scenario if you have a friend that works in there, you know, one of those strip malls, and then, you know, you don't have to cut your way in or break in. You know, you'll have a key and then you can lock the door, and it's very safe, not only from fallout but from marauders and desperate, hungry people, because people are going to go nuts after a nuclear war. You're going to have hungry people, you know, thirsty people, people panicking, trying to find shelter. Here's another good example of a fallout shelter location. Here we have a Petco. Over there's a Petco. Here we have a Michaels, and here we got a Home Goods. And this is a great option because what I like about this is there's not a lot of, you know, open areas here. You just have some, you know, glass, you know, doors there, and then the Michaels has some doors and the Petco has some doors. But other than that, this is a pretty solid structure. You got a lot of concrete here. You can see all those blocks, you know, that's all concrete, reinforced concrete with a brick face on the outside, so it looks good. But this is a very solid structure with concrete all around it. So this is a great option. You can easily find like a boiler room, a receiving area, a back room of some kind that you can fortify and add shielding to. Here we have some kind of door over here, you know, that could be some kind of you know, back room or something. But you want to find some kind of room that's, you know, surrounded, a closet, boiler room, something that's surrounded by concrete or dense material. But this is a decent option. This is a decent option, guys. So, you know, same thing as with all the other ones. If you can't find a back room or something like that, or stairwell or something, or basement, might even be a basement here, okay? But if you can't find any of those things and you're forced to go into the actual like sales floor, then, you know, center most part of the store and, you know, pile up all the dense material around you and make a shelter. That's going to be your best option. You'll get a lot of protection, believe it or not. So, all right, guys, so we found a bunch of shelter options. It only took me about an hour and a half to do this. A little bit of driving, a little bit of walking, a little bit of time, but it's worth it in my opinion. So go out there to your nearest town, your nearest city, and scout out fallout shelter locations. You can do some work at home by using Google Maps. We live in an age where there's just so much information available at our fingertips. You can go on your cell phone and do half of the work on your cell phone. Look on Google Maps. You can also go to your local library and find architectural plans. When a lot of buildings are built, the contractor has to apply for a building permit. They can't just build a building, so they apply for a building permit. And a lot of those big buildings have public information available about them. Okay, at your local library, you might be able to find building permits that were issued for a lot of the structures in your town and in your city, and you might be able to find architectural plans. So this way you can basically look at those architectural plans and figure out where the best part of the structure is to shelter in. And because you might not have access to that structure, like some of those apartment buildings I was showing you, I'm not a resident at those apartment buildings, so I don't know what the inside looks like, unless I know someone that lives there and they can let me in, or somehow I can get in and walk around and scout it out. But you can get architectural plans for a lot of structures through public information, through your local library, through your town building department. So that'll save you some extra time and effort from having to actually go on foot and look around and scout out entrances where you can get into the building. Another thing that's very important is not just finding a suitable structure, but figuring out how you can get into that structure. Like I said earlier, with the church and the other structures, you need entry tools. But in your scouting, in your recon, you want to look for not just a good structure, but where inside of the structure can you take shelter, which part of the structure is the best for protecting yourself from radiation, and also what are the entry points. How are you going to get into that structure? Okay, is there a window, is there a door? You have to figure these things out now before the bombs land. Okay, you want to figure these things out now. So find like 5 or 10 structures in your area and narrow them down and rank them, which ones are the best from the top structure, the best structure. Rank them from 1 to 10. Find 10 structures. Tonight we found almost 10. We found the parking garage, the church, a few apartment buildings, some department stores, and that only took me an hour and a half. Okay, so find yourself 10 structures, rank them from best to worst, and then once you have a list of like 3 to 5, you want to scrutinize those even more and get more information about them, figure out entry points. How are you going to get in? Also, you need to think about how far away these structures are, because if they're too far, they're useless. If there's a nuclear war, every nuclear warhead that's detonated is going to release an EMP. So even if an EMP is not detonated over the United States, well, actually they would detonate multiple EMPs, because you're not going to be able to take out the entire US power grid with one EMP. They're going to have to do multiple EMPs that overlap each other. They would have to set it up like overlapping coverage, okay, so they can wipe out the whole grid. And most likely, if there is a full-scale nuclear war with Russia and China, they would hit us with EMPs first and take down our power grid first and take out our comms, because that would damage the military comms as well. They're not so much concerned with taking out, you know, civilian comms and civilian power. They want to damage the military electrical grids and circuits and everything else, you know, vehicles. So they would most likely hit us with EMPs first, okay? But even if they don't hit us with EMPs, let's say they don't do that, still every single warhead that goes off will release a pulse, an electromagnetic pulse. Now, if it's a surface burst or an air burst, it's not going to travel as far as a high altitude burst, okay? A high altitude burst in low Earth orbit, that pulse is going to travel thousands of miles just from one warhead. But if it's, you know, surface bursted or air bursted, air burst is usually a kilometer or up to a mile above ground level. If it's air bursted or surface bursted, the EMP may travel 20 miles or 50 miles or 100 miles, but it's not going to travel as far as a high altitude burst, okay? But you need to think about, if there is an EMP, if the power goes out, even if there's not an EMP, they could hit substations, they could hit interstate transmission lines, you know, to take down the grid. So count on electricity not working, count on your car not working. You need to be able to get to your shelter on foot if you have to, okay? That's where I'm getting with these EMPs, that you need to count on the possibility that your car's not going to get you to your shelter, okay? You have to be able to walk there, so you want to find something relatively close to you. All right, if you find a structure that's 10 or 20 miles away, you know, you might not be able to get there. You could say, oh, I'll walk there, or I'll fill up my rucksack and you know, carry supplies, but you know, realistically, the fallout is going to start to land in a couple of hours, depending on your distance from ground zero, from the detonation point. So, you know, unless you're Captain America, you're not going to be able to cover 20 miles quick enough with, you know, a full ruck on. And, you know, you're going to need 2 weeks worth of supplies, food and water. So, you know, good luck, you know, carrying 2 weeks worth of food and water on your back 20 miles and trying to walk that, you know. It's just not realistic, not in the time constraints from, you know, the fallout landing. So you need to be able to get to your shelter within, you know, a couple of hours, and you need to be able to get there on foot. You need to be able to bring your supplies to your shelter. So you need to think about all these things, and I'm going to do more videos on this in depth, but these are things you want to think about, okay? Can I get to these structures on foot? What are the ways in? How can I get into these structures? You know, what are the entry points? What kind of tools do I need? What does the inside look like? Do I have architectural plans I can look at? Is there somebody I know that can let me into the building? Or, you know, there's some other way I can scout it out. Maybe during business hours I can walk around inside and scout it out. But these are things you want to do now, all right? So in my opinion, the best time to do this type of recon is at night, when there's less vehicles on the road. The only thing is, if you do this type of recon at night, you know, you might catch attention by local law enforcement if you're snooping around different buildings. You know, but you could do it at night, you could do it during the day, whatever. You know, but that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. I got more videos like this coming, so stay tuned to my channel. Take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 P's: prepare, practice, and persevere.